Hey, what's going on? Jeff Ratcliffe here, and it's fantasy football draft season. We don't want our lineups to go bust, so we want to avoid guys who can be potential fantasy busts, and we have a list of busts for you. ProFootballFocus.com, running backs, wide receivers, quarterback busts, we have it all for you. Right now, let's talk about some running back busts, and essentially what I'm looking at here are guys who were drafted in the range of the running back twos who potentially could go bust. So I have three names for you, and we're gonna start at the top with Kenyan Drake. Now, Drake, last year, did a nice job down the stretch, finished very strong over the last month of the season, but that was really the only time where he was the true feature back. Remember, early in the year, Jay Ajayi was there for the Dolphins. So the team brings in the offseason Frank Gore. They also drafted Kalen Ballage, which, by the way, Kalen Ballage, is he not a Kenyan Drake clone? Very similar game style out of those guys. Can we just automatically assume that Drake is the lead guy, the feature back in this offense? I don't know if we can make that assumption. Plus, let's look at what he was able to do last year. Only 2 100-yard games. So it's not like he was putting up massive numbers week in, week out. I do think that we're going to see Frank Gore involved, not like he's been over the course of his career, but he's going to take some early down work away from Kenyan Drake. Maybe Ballage gets mixed in as well. Plus the fact that that offensive line in Miami produced the fewest yards before contact for their running backs last year. It's an uphill battle, there's no doubt about it for Drake, and drafting him as an RB2, there is the potential he goes bust. After Drake, let's go to Tennessee, Derrick Henry. And I wanted to believe, before free agency, it looked like Henry was set up for a monster workload. DeMarco Murray out of the mix, so it was finally Henry's gig. We were thinking this guy's gonna get, 300 carries, he's gonna get 40 catches, and he's gonna be right in the mix to be a potential breakout running back. Well, the Titans didn't see it that way. They went out, they signed Dion Lewis, who's coming off a big season for fantasy purposes, and statistically speaking as well for the New England Patriots, where he finally really was able to stay healthy. Everything clicked. And we know Lewis, even though he's a little guy by NFL standards for the running back position, Lewis is capable of running between the tackles. In fact, very effective there, very elusive, and he's capable of catching the ball out of the backfield. So he comes into the mix, and it really looks like we're going to see a full-blown committee in Tennessee right now. That's not good for fantasy purposes because, first and foremost, the touches are going to be split up. Secondly, there's going to be big weeks from these guys, but good luck predicting who has the big week when. And right now, Henry is being drafted ahead of names who are in much clearer situations, like Jay Ajayi, for example, in Philadelphia. So we're overpaying for Henry. He could end up leading the team in carries, but Dion Lewis could certainly lead the team in catches. And if you've ever thought about it, what's the difference between a running back carry and a running back catch in terms of fantasy value? Here's an easy way to think about it. Last year, running backs averaged 4.1 yards per carry. In fantasy points, where you get 1/10 of a point for a yard, that's 0.4 points. Last year, running backs averaged 8.2 yards per catch. Okay, that's 0.8 fantasy points, but if you're in a PPR, that's 1.8 fantasy points. In other words, that's 4.5 times more valuable to get the catches than to get the carries. Lewis is going to get the catches, Henry's going to get the carries, and if you draft him too early, you may have a fantasy bust on your hands. Finally, we're going to go down to Houston, Lamar Miller. The declining efficiency is very real with Lamar Miller. We go back to last season, age 26. He averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Of course, the offensive line not doing him any favors, but that really didn't change entering 2018. So I have concerns about the declining efficiency. It's his age 27 year, which is typically the year we start to see that decline really set in for running backs. Not to mention the fact that D'Onta Foreman is on this roster, and Foreman coming off a quasi-breakout year, but it was shortened by the injury when he was in the midst of a breakout game. In fact, the Achilles injury happened, but Foreman ready to step in there. This is a kid who the Texans brought in, drafted last year after a 2,000-yard season in college. It doesn't look promising for Lamar Miller. So while he's sort of been a fantasy mainstay over the last several years, I don't know if we want to trust him as our RB2 this year. He has big-time bust potential as well. So who's your running back bust for 2018? Give us a comment below, and of course, subscribe to the channel for more videos from Pro Football Focus Fantasy. For all of your fantasy needs, rankings, projections, tools, etc., go check out ProFootballFocus.com.